might be one of those few people who haven't tried Tailwind CSS yet. Apparently, it's all the controversy, all the buzz recently is about using Tailwind. People who have used Tailwind will fight for it like hell. It's like a cult. So it's like after you use Tailwind, you will not go back to whatever you were using before, whether it was vanilla CSS, style component, CSS in JS. Forget about it. You will stick with Tailwind. So I like to expose myself to this drug today. So I haven't used Tailwind at all, and I want to try it, see what happens, what the fuzz is about. So here I will create a new Create React app, and then I will show you and walk you through this example and my experience when creating this whole thing. So here I'm using this Tailwind CSS guide to use Tailwind CSS with Create React app. And this app here is going to be a very simple app. And I know, you're not supposed to use Create React app anymore because they deprecate it in favor of Next.js or things like that. But for quick projects, I still like to use Create React app because it makes things simple and I'm familiar with how it's set up. So I will follow this guide here. So first we will create a new Create React app project, which I'm doing right now in the background. And then we will install Tailwind. So it looks like that's how you install the whole package. It's called Tailwind CSS. And then, well, it's gonna keep going. It's gonna take a while to install this whole thing. But in the meantime, let's chat about Tailwind. So Tailwind is I would say a utility first CSS framework, like the website says here. And it has a bunch of classes that were pre-written for you that comes with the package. So you don't have to create your own like padding 4, text center, or rotate 90, those CSS commands. Like you don't have to do any of that. You just add the class name to any div or any elements, and then it will automatically apply the styles to it. And that's really all there is to it. There's nothing magic about this whole thing. It's pretty much utility class. And what the good thing is, Tailwind CSS has a built-in design framework to make sure everything aligns correctly, make sure the spacing are even. It's kind of like Bootstrap, right? If you ever use Bootstrap, Bootstrap has a bunch of classes too that you can apply to it. Except these classes are classes that contain a set of properties. So for example, let's say class, foobar. Foobar contains text center, rotate 90, point 4 flex, right? They combine all four of these together. But utility class goes a set smaller. So it basically, instead of having a container class, it will let you decide the exact properties of a specific HTML element. So you don't have to apply a single class. Instead, you apply multiple utility classes to divs, and that will style things the way you want it. So let me refresh this page here. It will show you, let me drag this to the side so I can tell when the installation is finished. So as you can see here, it tells you, like it gives you a real-time look, right? So as you apply this class to it, dark text, sky 40, so it will automatically apply to this UI here, right? The font style, like you want to center it, right? If you want to give it different kind of layout, flex layout, P padding, like MD stands for margin down, right? So text left. So this is the kind of thing that you can give you apply to your UI, which allows you to do rapid prototyping on any particular div. And as you can see here, there's really nothing special about this HTML here. Everything here is just standard HTML with classes, right? It's not like JSX or anything. You gotta, but this is, you straight up just use HTML. So the good thing about this is that it's portable. You can now use it on any browser that accepts HTML. Tailwind So there's one thing about Tailwind is that when it compiles your HTML, it will minimize. It will like make sure it only include the stylings that are used. So let's say PT6 here. PT6, you know, like what is this, right? So PT6, if you use PT6 a few times in your project, but you don't use PT8, PT4, or whatever, PT8, PT4 will not be included in the final compiled CSS. Only PT6 will be included. And underneath PT6, it could be, you know, a few it's basically padding top 6, right? So underneath PT6, all it does is define padding top 6. So that's all there is, and it will export that as a final built CSS. So underneath, it's just plain old vanilla CSS, except this time we use utility classes. So if you scroll down the website further, you see that this is actually, you know, endorsed by a lot of people. Some people you might recognize, you know, Ryan Florence from React Router, Remix, Kent Dodds is a very famous, programmer. So we want to make sure that whatever we use here is something that a lot of people support. But again, not all of these people may be correct. This may not be your cup of tea, because when you look at this, you'll be like, this seems like a lot of HTML here, right? A lot of it's littering my HTML. Like if you look at this, imagine that's just one block, right? Imagine you have like 10 of these, and then on the page itself you got a bunch of. So your immediate reaction, my immediate reaction is, oh man, I'm gonna have to deal with all these classes and random stuff on the divs everywhere on my page. How am I gonna maintain it, right? And how is it? It's gonna be hard to read. And if I ever want to move away from Tailwind, oh boy, you look at this, you'll be like, how am I supposed to move all of that out of my HTML, right? Well, Tailwind has solutions for that, but I don't think you want to. At this point, like, from my understanding, with my limited understanding of Tailwind, I don't think I want to move away from Tailwind if I go all in on this, because migration for this is gonna be a pain in the butt. So let's see what else. So you got like a bunch of people. Let's see what they say. I feel like an idiot for not using Tailwind CSS. Skip to the end. Use Tailwind CSS. I've been working with CSS for over 10 years, and Tailwind just makes my life easier. It's still CSS, and use Flex Grid. Just be quicker and write and maintain. So, you know, a lot of these people probably already drink the Kool-Aid for Tailwind, and I want to see what they're seeing. So this is exactly why I'm going into this with an open mind. I want to remove all the preconceived, reactions to this, which I think a lot of people will have similar reactions to it. But I want to go in there and with an open mind and see exactly why all of these people here are loving Tailwind, right? So let me move this a little further here. So yeah, let's see. All of this stuff again. Anyway, so what is this? It's an API for your design system. The utility class help you work with the constraints of a system instead of littering your style sheets with arbitrary values. Okay, this is important. So if you're any like CSS person, you should know the importance of a design system. So design system gives you rules for sizing, color, typography, and shadows and stuff like that. They set a set of rules. They set up a set of rules for you to follow in the guideline. Because you don't want like padding 6 over here and then padding 8 on the other place, right? You want everything to be uniform. You want everything to have a correct set of expectations for everything. That's how you build beautiful websites. That's how you build beautiful spacing. Let's say for these icons here, they have the exact same spacing, and like for different screen types, they're responsive. And then for color palette, right? So you gotta make sure you have the right type of color palettes that you set up for your website. So all the colors, you don't use like random RGB colors, because there's like millions of RGB colors. and you want to use a set of colors that are like similar to each other, and they gradually go from light to dark like this. Same thing for typography. You want to make sure your fonts are correctly set up, so in certain places you use a certain type of fonts, and you limit the number of fonts that you want to be that is possible for the users. And then for shadows, same type of thing. And so this is something I was talking about. Like it has a design system set up already for Tailwind that will make your life easier. And seriously, like right here, you can build whatever you want. Like this whole thing here was built with this HTML. There is nothing like big about this. So one thing that this Tailwind shines is if you're using a component-based front-end framework. So for example, React.js, right? It's all component, component, component. Vue.js, component, component. So when you have components, instead of littering your HTML file with a like, let's say you have 10 of these on the page, you don't want 10 of these littering around your page. It's going to be hard to maintain. So you want to componentize this thing, and then just import it to wherever place you want. And so when you make update to a particular div, it will update like everywhere. So that's how it works. And here, you have this example here, like they created this whole thing with this here. So you can have different themes, right? Looks like you can have different themes. Different ways of expressing this component. As you can see, they're vastly different from each other. So this is really cool that you can style things like theme. So yeah, here it never ships unused CSS. So as you type this in, the output, right? This is the build CSS. So there's like a build tool that looks at that parses your HTML, looks at the list of classes that were used, and only include the one that were used in here. And here's the exact example, right? Like, padding top, padding bottom. So if you do padding in the y-axis, this is what this class means. Padding in the y-axis 3 means padding top, padding bottom 3, and whatever 3 translates to is 0.75 rem. So it's doing rem, which is great. And yeah, and all of this, like you see the definition underneath. It's actually very, very simple. So everything is responsive, and you can, drag this out. You can do responsive queries with Tailwind. So if you do LG Max, right, Wi-Fi XL, LG Gap. So it may look crazy looking at this. I mean, it kind of looks crazy to me that you put all your responsive queries in there. So, but looking at this, like you go, what the hell? What's going on here? That's too much things for me to figure out what exactly it does. But when you get down to it, you don't really care what all of these things do, but you only, like when you edit something, when you're changing a style or something, you really care about the property that makes the thing work. So if I'm looking at this, I don't really look at all of this. I just like, I just want to update this for mobile. So I just look at LG Max, LG Gap, and so you look at the properties that are relevant to the things that you want to change. So this, I mean, it still kind of look crazy to me. I kind of want to see what the fuck, what and how everyone's buying into it. You can do hover states. Wow, cool. You can do hover states, huh? So let's see, where's the hover state? So if I want to like hover over this, oh cool, it highlights it. So it shows hover BG blue 400, right? So this is the class that makes this thing hover. So I hover it, cool. Hover here, group hover. I wonder what this is. So if you apply group hover, it hovers the whole thing, everything on there. Text white, background blue. Wow, interesting. That looks pretty cool. Duplications. Interesting. So if you want to do React, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. You have components. Your components, they contain individual CSS utility classes. So when you piece them together in the big div, your HTML is actually quite clean. Looking at this, right? It's because all of this class has been encapsulated into the component themselves. So you don't see that in your overall component. Now that's what I mean. Like this looks cleaner. That's mean it's still like very clean. So individual components are getting later. But when you break things down to individual components, instead of having this like one big giant thing here, you actually have like individual pieces, and then overall component it looks like that instead. So, which is great. Like that's why I think like it shines. It's in the component framework. Oh, here, if you're not into component frameworks, use Tailwind apply directly to extract repeated utility pattern into custom CSS classes just by copy pasting into this. So I'm not sure what this means. So if you do BTN class, you do apply. Okay. So if you don't want to write an individual CSS rules, you can still do the good old CSS, right? Except for the class definition, you just do apply, and then whatever this is, Tailwind will automatically update this with the proper class definitions. So you can still, you can actually still make the front end clean, right? You don't need to use all of that classes. You can use your own classes, but except you apply all of these things inside of the style sheet instead of the HTML. Cool, you can do dark mode. So if I click on this, okay, so you can, for dark mode, you just need the dark prefix. So if you want a dark mode, you can just add all the classes, prefix it with dark, and then it will only apply those things in the dark class. That's pretty cool. Extend it, tweak it, change it. So you can actually extend the base design system with your thing, right? So I think this is for like kind of a theming kind of thing. But if you want to customize Tailwind further, you are welcome to customize it. So you can do CSS grid like this, right? So grid flow. That's a lot easier. I think that looks much cleaner than CSS grid. Transformation. So they have transformation classes for scale, rotate, which is cool. Filter, right? You got blur, different kinds of images. That's pretty cool. I think it has everything you need. And then you got IDE integration, so if you use VS Code or something, there's an IntelliSense. Apparently, there's an extension, right? So when you type something in, you get the auto suggestion for all of that, which is super cool. You definitely need this because I can't remember all the different class names. But if you use Tailwind a bit longer, you probably will remember. But for beginners or people who are not familiar, having a extension like this is extremely useful. Cool. Okay, so that's all the intro to it. I guess like my video got a bit too long. I guess in the beginning, I'm just showing you like what this is. But in the next video, I will dive in head first into this and play around with this, and then you will get to see all of it as I learn about Tailwind. Anyway, visit my sponsor, DigitalOcean, in the description below if you want to help me out. Sign up and you get like $200 in server credit. You can host your website there for free. Try it out. Give it a try. It's one of the best hosting services I ever use. With that said, I hope to see you guys in the next video.